Most precious souls, who would invest a greater portion of your being to the cause of light around the world, within your own nations, and on behalf of the citizens and life waves of Europe, I, the God of the Swiss Alps, with my beloved, come this day at the request of one to shine forth the light from a number of mountains in the Swiss Alps, and especially from Monte Rosa, which you may visualize now, blessed ones, ensconced in that radiance of rose light, as you have seen it, both at the sunrise and the sunset. For my mission is one of divine love, and our mission together is to express the eternal light of God high in the Alpine region of Europe. For as you know, this mountain range encompasses areas of 8 nations, and there is a magnificence and a divine radiance that flows from these peaks, north, south, east, and west, traversing into the valleys below, and bringing the light of the threefold flame in harmony to all peoples. And the impact is felt even through the regions through which the Rhine and the Danube pass. For we commingle the light of those snows in the mountain fastnesses as they melt and create tributaries to these great 2 rivers that flow throughout this region. And there is the alchemy manifest, whereby the grace of God, signified within the snows of these alpine heights, blesses and charges the earth, the atmosphere, and every hectare of land therein with that grace and the soundless sound of purity. Dearest ones, I reveal to you that 2 very special musical themes may be played to invoke our presence, in addition to that national anthem that you have heard. And these are the William Tell Overture and that song from The Sound of Music that many of you have heard, where Maria sings from those alpine heights, fully enveloped in the love of nature the greenery that she beheld, and the wonderment of that which may be experienced only when one ascends, both physically and in consciousness, to the higher heights of light and the mountain fastnesses. Dearest ones, during this vigil that you have held, and the invoking of the light on behalf of Europe, we have amplified a certain grace that manifests as an acceleration of the threefold flame that we tend on behalf of all of Europe. From our retreat over Monte Rosa. And this acceleration manifests this day as a blessing to all life, especially the elemental kingdom. The God of nature also being invested in this alchemy, as well as those noble devas who guard the peaks of the Alps and inspire those mountaineers who climb these peaks with a sense of victory when they have made the effort, have mastered themselves, both physically, mentally, and emotionally. For we add a momentum of purity within their etheric body, having conquered these heights and ascended to the pinnacles of each of these peaks. And you too, blessed ones, who feel inspired to hike and to climb and to ascend, may use this dynamic as a metaphor for your spiritual path in climbing the highest mountain of selfhood and of reaching the summit of being, the apex of your true self, through devotion, praise, and beingness in God's eternal presence of light. We now accelerate this fire through the nations of Austria, Slovenia in the east, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Germany and France to the west, Italy and Monaco to the south. And there is a manifestation of infinity stamped upon these regions for the acceleration of those who would open their hearts to greater divine truth and light, who are willing to accept the eternal verities that God is investing through those who have been quickened in the light to share the truth, the way, and the life through the glorified radiance of their beings one with God. Yes, dearest ones, even that story that many of you may have read or watched of the little maiden Heidi has moved you to understand the dynamics of what can manifest when one receives inspiration from one's grandfather who knows the soul in feminine form within you, that grandfather representing wisdom, the wisdom of the ages, through one who has held the balance for you, garnered light in the regions of truth, and brought it to bear to assist you on your path. Are you inspired by those who have learned to blow the trump that you have called the Alpine horns, whereby the toning even of a type of the Om is heard echoing through the mountain fastnesses? Are you inspired by the Edelweiss and those mystical flowers which somehow magically grow in regions beyond what most would consider as opportune for those tiny, glorified wildflowers of light? Have you also heard the mystical sound of those who have mastered their voices in yodeling, which years ago was a form of communication across long distances in these mountain heights? Yes, dearest ones, there is much for you to consider in meditating upon the Swiss Alps with us, of accessing what we model and what we radiate as the fire of God, the love of God, the wisdom and power of God in balance. From this central region of a great continent, inspired by the Divine Director and many other ascended masters whom you know. O gracious ones, now my beloved steps forth and sends forth a ray to the soul of every individual evolving throughout Europa to augment that which the Divine Director has initiated and continues to manifest through his great causal body as the Manu of the seventh age, as one who holds the blueprint of being for you all, in evolving and ascending into your true godhood and unto eternal beingness in the light. And with the twin ray of the Divine Director, who is an embodiment holding that fire and that light on behalf of all in these regions, she extends now a certain grace, even a transmutative fire of forgiveness and mercy and understanding, to bring forth through the light of compassion of a mother's heart that which will move more to seek God, to aspire to new levels of truth and divine wisdom. And if you choose to call to us, in the same breath that you pray to the Divine Director, we will accelerate within these regions of these 8 nations, throughout the Alpine Heights, the grace of God, the light of purity. And you may just hear echoing within the inner chambers of your heart and within your divine mind those overtones which will inspire you to make greater effort on your path and to secure for yourself the light of love as grace on behalf of those whom you serve, in your families, in your communities, and in your nations. When the movie The Sound of Music was released, we jumped for joy, and there was a great celebration in our retreat, for we knew that the light of freedom, of joy, and that which emerges from the divine sound of pure music would bring a refreshment of many spirits, an inspiration to so many souls, and many of you cherish the songs inspired upon the musicians and composers whose words and strains of light we were therefore bridging the gap between heaven and earth and raying forth this essence of happiness experienced by many and what we consider one of the epic tales and movies of all time ever released upon earth. Now, dearest ones, a word from my beloved, whom you may call the goddess of the Swiss Alps, although I know her by another name. And if she chooses to release it, so be it.